guys! It's the beginning of September, which means that it's nearly Freshers Week. For all of you who got into university this year, congratulations, and it's nearly time to get started. Hi, I'm Triya and I am a junior doctor working in London. I graduated from Oxford Medical School last year, and today I'm going to be talking about how to survive Freshers Week, featuring some sisterly advice. Let's start by talking about what actually happens at Freshers Week. Freshers Week is the first week of university before lectures and classes start. This is a really great time to meet everyone and is dedicated to the freshers who are the first year students at university. This is a week filled with lots of activities such as social events, inductions, and most importantly, Freshers Fair. Freshers Fair happens in every university. It is a campus-wide event where lots of societies and clubs advertise themselves, and you have an opportunity to learn about all the different kinds of extracurricular activities you can do and then sign up for them. This is a really fun event because you meet lots of new people, and most importantly, there's lots of free food and free goodies. So my advice for Freshers Fair is to sign up to anything and everything that sounds interesting. Typically, because it's all new and exciting, you'll end up signing up for too many things that you can actually schedule, but that doesn't matter because you can always drop it later. Another thing that's really important about Freshers Week is the social events. Typically this involves group night outs to local nightclubs and bars. Also, you might have icebreaker events hosted by your student union or by some of the people in the year above. Typically in British universities there is a lot of drinking culture, but it's important to remember that there also are a lot of non-drinking events that try to be a bit more inclusive. Because there's so many social events in Freshers Week, don't feel like you have to go to every single one. Definitely pace yourself in terms of partying, but do try to get involved in some things because this is where you end up meeting a lot of people. Another thing that's quite important that happens in Freshers Week is the inductions. So this could be an induction to your local library or to your university gym or to some aspect of your course. It's really important to go to these because, say for example, you don't go to your induction for your gym, you might not be let in, or if you don't go to the induction for the library, it may be difficult later on to work out how to actually use the library. Some universities will organise meetings with your tutors. This may be a relatively informal chat, or it might be something more formal where you meet the people who will be teaching you. This definitely happened for me in my first year at Oxford. Now typically students don't get set academic work in their Freshers Week. However, the exception is for Oxford and Cambridge probably as well. In my first week I had a meeting with my tutors about the second or third day in, and I set my first essay, which was about cell biology. So now I'm going to talk about some of the different aspects of Freshers Week that some people might find worrying. The first thing I want to talk about is drinking and partying. As I said before, Freshers Week is filled with social events, and a lot of these will be at nightclubs or at bars. Now it may seem like everyone is drinking alcohol at university, and whilst it is true that in university, especially in England, lots of students do drink, but it's important to remember that it's not everyone. I'm not going to sit here and lecture you about the problems with drinking, but instead I'm going to give you some practical advice that you can use to drink safely and responsibly at university. So a lot of people when they start out university will not have a lot of experience with drinking and alcohol, so my advice is to take things slowly, only have one drink at a time so that you can figure out what your limit is for becoming drunk. A lot of people I know who were less experienced with drinking ended up drinking alcohol much too quickly and then got sick. A good tip for if you are planning to drink on a night out is to make sure that you've had some food before you go out. So for example, you could have something for dinner, or at least you can have some crackers or a cereal bar beforehand. Now you'll probably find your own special hangover remedy, but I think in general the best way to reduce the effects of a hangover is to make sure that you stay really hydrated. Try to drink water if you can when you're on the night out itself. So for example, you can always go up to a bar and you can ask for free tap water. Another good tip is to make sure you have some water in your bedside table, so ready for when you get home. That will leave you feeling much better in the morning. Also, it's really important to remember that you don't have to drink alcohol in order to have a fun time on a night out. For example, you can drink non-alcoholic drinks in a nightclub, or you don't have to drink at all, but you can still dance and party and have fun with your new friends. If you're worried about peer pressure and you're worried about not fitting in with your new friends, then for example, just remember that a fizzy drink like Coca-Cola or Sprite looks exactly the same as a vodka and Coke or a gin and tonic. So you can still have fun and have a glass in your hand, but it doesn't have to be alcohol. So the next thing I want to talk about is freshers flu. It is a stereotype that most people get sick with freshers flu when they start university. This is for a lot of reasons, but one of them being that you're meeting lots of new people and you're socializing. But as a doctor, I'm now going to give you some tips for your general health. So a lot of the times you won't be able to help catching a virus or the flu from someone in freshers week, but you can try out some really simple tips in order to reduce the chances of getting sick or passing on an illness. So for example, it sounds simple, but really remember to wash your hands, especially after you sneeze or cough, and definitely before you eat. This will help you to decrease your risk of getting freshers flu, but also hopefully avoid vomiting and diarrhea bugs like norovirus. Now, in a post-COVID era, it is very socially acceptable to wear a mask. So if you are in a crowded lecture hall, it's totally okay if you want to wear a mask, especially if you are feeling sick. Now, if you unfortunately happen to get freshers flu, I would suggest rest and recuperation and staying away from other people until you feel better. It's important to make sure you have a stash of medicines with you in university so that you don't have to then go out to the chemist when you're sick. So things I would advise to take with you are painkillers such as paracetamol or ibuprofen, definitely some Lemsip, and make sure that if you have any regular medications such as inhalers or an EpiPen, make sure that you take this with you to university. So when you're just starting out at university, you may not know much about how the uni is set up and you may not have already registered with a local doctor or GP, but most universities and colleges have in-house doctors or nurses who can act as your first point of call when you're sick. So if you do get sick early on, I would advise seeking out the university doctor. Another really good place for advice is the NHS website, or if you're feeling unwell and you want some medical advice, you can call 111. This is not for emergencies, but if it is the case that you need to go to hospital, then the people on the line can advise you to do so. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is friendships. So when you're going to university, it can seem really daunting because generally you don't know a lot of people when you're going there and you will have to make a lot of new friends. Now this can seem daunting, but I think it's important to remember that everyone is in the same boat as you. Most people don't know anyone at university and they're all wanting to make friends and meet new people. If you do have people from your hometown or from your school who are going with you to the same university, then that's really great because it's nice to have a friendly face around. However, I would advise don't just stick to the people that you already know and try to meet new people, because that's how you will branch out and you will grow. Now, in some universities, people can make friendship groups and cliques very, very quickly, but I would advise try not to do this because you want to meet as many people as you can, and don't worry, it does take time to find the right people. So when I was in university, the girl who was living in the room next to me ended up being one of my very close friends for the rest of university, and I was really lucky in that way. But some of my closest friends from university I didn't meet until much later. Making friends is not easy. Try to go to different events and societies to try to meet new people. But don't worry, it does take time to find your friends. So the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to Freshers Week is safety. And by this, I mean a lot of different things. For example, safety on a night out. It's something really important to consider, especially if you're a woman or you're walking home alone. So in terms of safety for drinking, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give is to make sure that you never lose sight of your drink, because sadly, drink spiking is quite common and you want to avoid that happening to you as best as you can. In an ideal world, obviously people wouldn't spike drinks, but there are some measures that you can try to do just to reduce your risk. So for example, never leave your drink unattended. Take it with you if you're going to a different room or to a different part of the club. If you really need to go to the loo, then finish your drink, or if you can't finish it, then I would suggest just leave it, discard it and get a new one when you're back. Another thing that people might be worried about is what to do with drink safety when it comes to other people buying your drinks. So it's perfectly acceptable for someone to want to buy you a drink, and I think it is possible to do this in a safe way. So if you meet someone and they want to buy you a drink, you can accept if you want to, but what I would advise is instead of letting them go to the bar and bring you the drink, because that means that there will be some time where you don't have eyes on your drink and someone could potentially spike it, what I would suggest is you go with the person to the bar and order the drink yourself, but then they can pay for it. So in that way, you see the bartender making the drink in front of you and they hand it directly to you. So you always have control of your drink, but the other person can buy it for you if that's what you want. Another thing about safety is getting home from nights out. Now this is important, especially because when you're in Freshers Week, you may not know the area or the city very well. I would definitely advise trying to walk home with someone else. If you're in a relatively small town like I was in Oxford, then most places are within walking distance distance of each other. So generally people would walk home from the nightclubs. But if you're in London or a bigger city, then you might be taking a taxi or a tube or a bus home. I would still say that definitely try to go home with a friend. Now, it's difficult because obviously you won't know that many people when you're starting off at uni. One way to do this is to try to find people that you live nearby. So for example, people who live in your corridor or the building that your accommodation is, and then generally try to find people who have the same level of partying experience or expectations as you. If you're someone who wants to go to the party but then come home at midnight or sometime that's not super late, then try to find people who are like-minded, who will also not mind leaving early. Also try to let people know where you're going and try to be a responsible friend for other people. If you've agreed with someone beforehand that you're going to come home from the nightclub together, then remember to find that person before you leave and check in with them. Don't abandon them, because then they'll be left alone and hopefully they'll do the same thing for you. So that was a lot of scary things, but generally I want to say that university is a great experience and Freshers Week is super fun. It can seem very overwhelming because there's so much going on and it's all new. Don't worry if you can't attend every single party or if you don't sign up for everything. You will be doing really well just to have survived it. And remember that university only gets better after Freshers Week when you're more settled in and you can establish better friends, relationships, and really get stuck into university life. And remember that you can always do freshers again next year when you come back for your second year of university, and that's known as Refreshers Week. I went to university for 6 years because my degree was 6 years long, and every single year we started university, we had some kind of freshers type event at the beginning of the year. So there's always fun things to do. I hope that was useful and I hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck to everyone starting university. I'm so proud of you. Bye and see you in the next video.